Hey everyone. I'm still working on my arc skull. I've decided I'm going to go ahead with it anyway. And I want it to have an old school feel. I did a video about some of the ideas I had for how to organize this game, but I'd really like input if anyone feels like following along with what my thinking is here. But what I'm thinking is I just want it to have an old school feel, but I want it to be fairly quick. This is kind of influenced by Tunnels and Trolls a little bit, but obviously BX too. So what I'm thinking is just having 4 attributes: a combat rating, a magic rating, a skill rating, and hits. And then the idea, I don't know if it should be a D20 or if it should be 2 6-sided dice. If you have an opinion about what I should do with that, please leave it down below. Because I don't know. Like, I'm kind of contemplating, should it be a 2d6 system or should it be a d20? So the pros and cons. I like the 2d6 system. I actually prefer 6-sided dice to a 20-sided die, and the reason is because you get a nice curve with the rolls, with your average being 7. Whereas with a d20, it kind of makes for a very chaotic game with wild swings going either way, so it makes it really hard to predict. I'm tending towards 2 6-sided dice. I know a lot of people love the d20. That's kind of how I feel about 6-sided dice. So the way I have it set up right now, or I'm thinking of doing it right now, is that you would roll up the ability scores. And the way you would do that, there's only basically the 3 and then hits, right? Which the hits should be just, you either take 4 and then add a bonus, right? Is the idea I'm thinking there for hits. Or you can roll a d6 if you want. If you want to take a risk. So you can either take 4 or just roll a 6-sided die. So with these 3, but all 4 stats you're rolling for a bonus. So what I'm thinking is that you would just roll a 6-sided die. And if you roll a 4, 5, or 6, then you would get a +1 bonus, +2 bonus, or a +3 bonus. This will work with either the 2d6 or d20 system, whatever you want. So here I rolled a 6, so I'd have to choose. Where do I want my +3, right? Well, I could put it with my hits, which would give me 7 hits. Let's do that. I'm going to put it with that. So I'd get 7 hits there. So I used up 1 bonus. I'd roll again. I got another +3. Okay, well, let's make this guy, I guess he's going to be a fighter. Okay, so we've got magic and skill now. Alright, so a 3 is nothing, so I have to pick something to put nothing in. I think since I've already sort of got lots of hit points and a high combat rating. So this is my skill rating. I'm basically rolling it, so 0 for skill. Alright, so this would be the hero. So no bonus for skills, no bonus for magic, but a +3 on the combat rating, and +3 for hits, giving this hero 7 hits. That's how I'm thinking of working it. Now, whether I do 6-sided dice or d20, that's the big question here, and I don't know. If I make it d20, then all of a sudden I guess I'm just sort of reinventing D&D, something I didn't really want to do. With the 2d6 system, I actually can envision making this solo game a lot easier because it's easier to balance and combats are easier to predict. The D20, just like I say, kind of wild, kind of random. I think that's why, for example, it's so difficult to balance D&D games is because of that D20 with those wild 1 to 100. I actually think a 2d10 instead of 2d20 would be a lot better, but that's a big ask because you're asking people to add, like 5 plus 7 or 8 plus 9, and people don't like doing that. So that's kind of difficult there. But it would, again, give you the nice curve. But with 2d6, it's quite easy because you're not asking anybody to add, large numbers. So it makes it a little easier. I would love to do a 2d10 system, but like I say, I really don't think there would be much stomach for that. People would be annoyed by it. So, I mean, because you're starting to get into Thaco territory there, right? So, yeah, so the combat I have sort of envisioned so far would be like, let's take two opponents. So you have, number one and number two going at it. And let's say this one has let's say it's this guy. So CR +3 plus using, say, a CR1 weapon. And using a shield, which would be another +1 CR. So for a total CR of +5. And let's say that they're going up against somebody with a CR of, I don't know, nothing. But using a shield and has a sword, let's say. So we've got a total CR +2 for this one. So they're only using shields. Nobody's wearing armor or anything. No point in getting into that yet. So the way that this would go is that you've got CR2 versus CR3. So you could either roll and add. So here you've got a 3 plus 2, right, is 5. Here you've got a 12 plus 5, right, 17. So that's one way, and then you just have the versus roll. I really want it to be versus rolls. I think that that's a really fun mechanic. It lets the DM roll outside of the DM screens too, so everybody can see nobody's cheating, nothing funny's going on. So the other idea is that these dice would explode too. So not only did this character get boxcars, so a 12, but would get to roll again, and would get a 19. So a 19 versus a roll of 5 would mean that the difference is 14, which would mean that this guy just did 14 points of damage to this guy. So yeah, it's pretty brutal, especially when you consider hits of like 7. But this is where armor would come in. Armor actually, I mean, if we put this guy in leather, let's say leather would give you a defense of, let's say, 3. So then that would knock it down to 11 damage. That's the idea. This is what I'm thinking of so far. Does this remind you of any system that's out there already? I suppose it probably does. There's so many RPG games. It's really difficult to come up with something, really unique. But this is how I'm thinking of running it. And this will be for a campaign world. Like I say, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it for Orc Skull. I'm going to just produce it anyway, even though my Kickstarter went... But it didn't have to. I just made some really rookie mistakes there. But anyway, I'll just do it anyway. And then, so I have a whole campaign world and everything that I'm planning to do. I've done some artwork for it. And... So the other thing I was thinking of is, instead of this system, the other thing I could do is just find advantage. So another way of doing it would be you would just compare CRs, right? So we have a CR of 5, which is, bigger than the CR of 2. So the difference is 3. So the advantage is 3, and advantage goes to number 1 because it's got the higher CR, so they get advantage. So instead of adding these bonuses to each die roll, you would only add to the person who has advantage. It's exactly the same thing, except it just might be a little easier. I'm not really sure about that, but so in this case, I wrote, this number 1 rolled a 6, a 7, so they rolled a 10 because they have a +3 advantage, whereas this one rolled a 6, 7, get to roll again, a 10, And I forgot this one got to roll again too. So 10. So, oops, 16. So this would do 6 points of damage. So as you can see, there's not really... and then we said that they had were wearing leather armor, so they would actually take 3 points of damage. So that's the idea. That's what I've come up with. And one of the reasons for this is just that it would be easy to add a tabletop to play this. It's the GM rolls and then the player rolls. But also it would be easy in terms of if you're playing a solo dungeon. So if I create some solo dungeons for this, the person can roll for the enemy and then they can roll for their hero, vice versa, because combat's simultaneous. There's no bot. You could do initiative, but it doesn't really matter because if you roll really badly, you're still going to take damage. So combat's sort of simultaneous is the idea. And with ranged attacks, you would still get to roll, but you wouldn't get to add in your weapon bonus. So you'd still be attacking them. And then there might be other penalties and stuff. Like if somebody's unaware of it, then their CR bonus might not apply. So that's what I'm thinking of that. And I would love any feedback, what you think. Do you think this is a good way of doing it? One thing I'm kind of thinking is that for the solo game, advantage makes a lot of sense. But for tabletop RPG, I think the adding to both dice makes a lot more sense. But it does increase the math, and I kind of worry about that. And there is subtraction in it, which is a big thing. You're not supposed to have subtraction in RPG games. But this one does. So I believe in role players. They can do subtraction. Probably. I hope they can. But that's one of the golden rules, is you're supposed to avoid subtraction. And I think that was one of the things with the old original D&D. I mean, they actually had negative numbers, right? Like, whew. So, yeah. But anyway, so that's what I've got here. And that's kind of what I'm thinking of. So with the magic, so you got your combat rating. Now you've got your magic rating. And the magic rating, what I'm thinking with it is that, of course, you've got a +1 to a +3. And I'm thinking with that will just be the number of spells that you can cast. However, actually, you know what? No, that's not what I'm thinking. What I'm thinking with it is that this will be a bonus to cast spells. So let's say you have a spell like Slumber, right, where you can cause a group of enemies to fall asleep, and let's say it has a 10. It has a 10 plus rating. So you'd have to roll 10 or better on 2 6-sided dice to cast it, but you'd get to add your bonus. So in this case, there's no bonus, so this person's not going to be able to cast it. And the idea here is that you don't actually memorize. You can memorize spells. I've got some ideas for rules for that. So if you have a spell, you can prepare it ahead of time. But the idea is that you would carry your spells in scrolls and then you would just cast them. If you miscast, if you get snake eyes, then the spell just fades from the scroll and you lose it. Or there's a number of times that you can fail and then it fades from the scroll. So that's the idea there. And then the skills, again, you'd get a bonus of +1 to +3, or plus nothing, I guess, to +3. So in this case, this character would have nothing. But then what you would do is just, well, the original idea was that you would roll for a number of skills that you have there. Now, what I want with the skills is I just want the skills to be an N in 6. N is just whatever number. N in 6 chance, with the maximum being 5. So the maximum that you can have is a skill of 5 in something, because a 6 always fails. And the reason for this, my feeling is I really don't like difficulties. I think difficulties don't make any sense for a number of reasons. The biggest is that it requires the GM to gauge how difficult something is for a character who obviously is skilled in that, in a world which doesn't make much sense because it's magic and everything else. So I think it's just sort of an arbitrary means of ripping off characters. Basically saying, yeah, you're really good at this, but it'd be kind of a, I still want you to have an element of risk, so I'm just going to make it more difficult so that your 20th level paladin will still have trouble doing whatever it is that they're trying to do. And I've always viewed that as kind of a ripoff. And because I don't think that that's how things work in real life. I don't think that it's easy for a GM to gauge difficulty. I think it's easy for a GM to gauge whether it would be fun if it was more difficult or not. But I mean, how often does that just annoy players? And then you've got like in 4th edition where you actually had the different tiers, and literally they would reset the difficulties so that all of a sudden, because you've reached a new tier, everything gets more difficult because that makes the game more fun, which it doesn't make the game more fun. It actually sucks. So what I'm thinking is that my skill system will just be an N in 6. So the maximum you can have is a level 5. You roll a die. So let's say you've got a level 3 or a rank of 3. I rolled a 5, so I failed. And whatever it is, opening a lock, busting down a door, climbing a tree, hiding in a shadow, building a barrel, mixing the perfect drink, preparing a lavish meal, whatever the skill is, it's just an N in 6 roll. You either do it or you blow it, and there's no difficulties because there's no point in it. And there's always a risk in this system, right? So you never assume you're just going to be so good that you can just do something over and over again. Is it realistic? No, but I think I think it's better than difficulties because that fun element is always going to be there, and players know what to expect. So you're not pulling the rug out from under them. Whereas, oh yeah, I finally leveled up and I've got a 5 in this skill, and the DM or the GM says, this is a more difficult thing. So instead of having a 5, now you've got a 3. Just let it be. Just let it lie. We're basically figuring out random chances here. I don't think a person needs to put that fine a point on it. I think that the N in 6 works just fine. So that's the idea there. So with the skill rating, again, if you have any ideas, what I'm thinking is that would be the number of skills that you get, and then just have a random table and you roll on it, and that gives you your number of skills. So you start off with 0 to 3 skills, something like that, and you just roll on them and you get the skills. Pretty simple. If you're not trained in the skill, then you always have a 1 in 6 chance of being able to succeed at it. But if you're skilled in it, then it jumps up to 2 in 6, and then you can go on and increase it if you want. So the other aspect of the Orc Skull system that I'm thinking of is that XP leveling. If you watched my previous video on why I think everybody should play Traveler, you'll know that I'm not a big fan of the level system. The reason is because I think it really limits what can be done in the world and what the magic and so forth, what role magic and treasure and so forth can play in the world. Because if you're constantly awarding XP, then you have to be limiting the amount of magic. And if you're limiting the amount of magic, you're limiting the reasons to explore. So there are 2 reasons you can explore. You can explore because you want to get XP and you want to level up and get bonuses. Or you can explore because you want to find magic items that increase your abilities and make you more powerful. So by having a leveling system, basically what you're doing is you're taking out the finding cool stuff and making your character cool instead of doing that or doing as much of that, instead you're going out and you're getting experience points so that you can make your character cool. So I know leveling is a huge part of the game. People absolutely love leveling. So I was going to make this an option, basically. XP is an option. And so it would be basically, as you explore and you overcome things, the GM at different points in the game could award you an XP point. And then you can take that XP point and you can spend it. You can increase your CR, your combat rating, your magic rating, or your skill rating. If you increase your skill rating, then you get a new skill. You can either raise a skill or you can roll for a new skill, whatever. However that should work. I'm not sure. Anyway, this is the way I was thinking of organizing it, because it's a very quick, simple, easy system, but it is complex. And then I have a way of adding classes and so forth later. I have a lot of details that can be added later, so I can make additional, or for additional issues of Orc Skull, or, however, I can add those things, or for different regions of the world can add things as they're needed. Because this is the fundamental base of the game, is the idea of the game. So you wouldn't even like magic. Yeah, magic's but I explained the magic, but I've got some concepts of the magic, and the magic works to enhance the explore to get more powerful, instead of explore to get XP to get more powerful. Do you know what I mean? I'm wondering if I need to explain that better. Why? Because it's kind of a big thing. I mean, the default game for Orc Skull is going to be no XP, but I know people like XP. So you've basically got, you've got your fighter, right? Your fighter dude, and or dudette, and there, there we go. We'll give him. All right, he's a tough guy. So you have your fighter dude, right? And so they've got their abilities, combat rating, magic rating, skill rating, and hits, which I may change that to life or something. I like hits, though. So then you've got XP, which I was actually thinking about calling hero points, just to really confuse things. So you've got hits over here and hit points here, because I like the idea of hero points. So as you gain XP, I'll put this in brackets so I'm less confusing. So what happens is, over here you've got your dungeon, right? And this is where you're going to explore. So your hero has two pathways to getting better. They can either gain XP or hero points, right? Or they can adventure. So there's these two routes. And this is coming from the dungeon here. They can they can go to the dungeon to earn XP and spend XP on leveling up these abilities. So if they do that, this dungeon has to have a lot less loot. Right? It just has to, because they're going to be getting power up from their hero points. Or the alternative way is just to get rid of this completely, and the only way to make your hero more powerful is to have exciting stories to tell about how you got that magic shield, how you got that magic sword, how you got that, belt that gives you incredible abilities of some kind. So, anyway, that is how I have it so far. So please, leave a comment down below if you think there's something I could do differently, if you've got an idea that would be better, if you think there's something I should change, if you don't like the whole idea, if you'd rather Orc Skull was just a D20, just another D&D game, or something like that. Let me know, please. I would really like to hear as much input as I could get. Thank you for watching this video. If you're still here, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe and all that good stuff. I'm actually only 10 people away from 1,000, so that's pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to that. Anyway, that's it for the video. Thanks for watching, and Talk to you next time. Bye.